Hello everybody, welcome back to Games But Bad. My name is Oligy101. I'm joined today by Dr. Shoe and TakedownChain23. Sort of. They're not in the call, but they will appear later in the video. And today, as you can probably see by what's on screen, the three of us will be making a top 10 vegetables tier list. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This is Gamers But Bad. Why are you reviewing vegetables? And to that I have to say, shut up. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the first top 10 vegetable. So, in the number 10 position, we have lettuce. Now, lettuce, it's a pretty good vegetable. It's kind of basic. It doesn't have that much flavor on its own. However, it can be used as a container or a wrap or just generally used to hold other foods. The texture is great. It's nice and crunchy if you've got it fresh. I'm trying to do all of this in one take, so sucks to be me, I guess. It's good. Lettuce is just good. However, it does lose a couple points because it's bland, as said. It goes with everything, but you can't have it as the focal point of a dish. Another problem with it is that you can't cook it. If you've ever put lettuce in the microwave, it just wilts and well, it's not fun to say the least. And so in the number 9 position, we have cauliflower. Now, cauliflower is a pretty versatile vegetable. It's tasty in almost every single form, whether you're cooking it, you're eating it raw, doesn't matter. Just talking about raw, the stalks taste great raw. You can cook them, you can have them raw, you could cook them with something else, like someone gave me a recipe for cauliflower mac and cheese or something, which sounds really good. However, a downside is that it needs other ingredients to be great. It's good on its own, but if you just have a plate of steamed cauliflower, it's not going to be the nicest meal. The reason why this is above lettuce, though, also, there's funny colors. Look at those funny colors. They're very funny. Wouldn't you agree? Now, in number 9, we have another classic. Peas. It's the vegetable that every child loves. Every child says it's their favorite. Name a single child who doesn't like peas. You can't. Now, there's a lot of different types of peas. It's, technically, you could consider some beans a type of peas. I'm not going to do that for this. However, you can see that peas, they come in pea pods. There's multiple of them, and they all taste great. There's just nothing wrong with peas. Peas, if you had a whole plate of peas, that's not like cauliflower or lettuce. It's not a case of, oh, this is just a plate of one vegetable. This is not good. This is the point where it starts getting to, hey, I would eat this by itself. That being said, it's not very versatile. Eating them raw is not always the nicest option, and the best way to have it is boiled or steamed. Outside of that, you're kind of out of luck. The two ways are still great though. It's like a one-trick pony. It does the one thing really good, and it doesn't need to do anything else because it just already does it really well. So, in the number 7 position, I have broccoli. Now, I know what you're thinking. Broccoli sucks. And to that, I have to reply, what are you, 4? Broccoli is great. You can eat it raw, you can eat it steamed, boiled, fried. Look at it. It's aesthetically pleasing. And if you let them flower, they are a flower. They flower into little white petals and they just look great. They're aesthetically pleasing. Oh, and even if you don't let them flower, they still have a funny texture. You put a little thing of that in your, I can't think of what it's called, like a cluster? A clump? I don't know. I'm not smart. You put a clump of that in your mouth and it tickles your tongue. It's just generally good. There's nothing really wrong with it. The only real problem I could see with it is it's overhated, and so other people hate it without thinking. Because broccoli is just great. There's no reason you should dislike it. So, in the number 6 position, I have carrots. Now, it's another classic. Every child likes carrots. Every child likes peas. Every adult likes carrots. Maybe not all adults like peas, but it's just an absolute classic. Everyone loves them. Another good point about carrots. I mean, look at that image on the screen. They can be purple. They can be yellow. Oh, there is a yellow one there. I meant to say orange, though. The most commonly orange, which is just a great color. Orange and purple are both good colors, and they can be like white and yellow as well. Another great point is it can fit the one trick pony thing that peas do. You eat a raw carrot? Yeah, that's fine. No one's going to question you. You eat a raw, I don't know, head of lettuce? People are going to think you're weird. Basically everything up here, except for maybe one of the other points, and we'll get to that later, you could eat raw and no one would question you. So, as you can see on screen, as I've left that up there and pressed it a little too early, the carrots, honey, cinnamon, chuck it in the oven, roast it, you take it out, bliss. You could also apply this recipe to parsnips, however, it just doesn't taste as great. Parsnips are pretty cool, but carrots are superior in every way to parsnips. You can't eat a parsnip raw, it's too chalky. It's just all around, it's a good vegetable. There's nothing wrong with it. I have been giving this high praise, but it is bland. It's a basic. Everything above this improves. And I'd even say on taste alone, peas would be better than carrots. However, there is one more thing that solidifies its spot in the number 6 position. Dr. Shoe! We love Dr. Shoe. So, in the number 6? I've got two number 6s. Who cares? Who cares? It's the pumpkin. Classic. Now, it is a little controversial because it has seeds. It's technically a fruit. However, no one cares. Your opinion is wrong if you think that it's not a vegetable. It's got great taste, and it's just generally great. So the insides are amazing. You cook that, you can roast it and get really good pumpkin. You could steam it. I wouldn't recommend it, but it does still work. You could get the insides of it scooped out, and then you can use them for desserts. You ever heard of pumpkin pie? I've never had pumpkin pie, but it sounds great. In fact, you can add pumpkin to basically any meal, and no one's gonna bat an eye. You add pumpkin to your tacos. That's probably a little odd, but no one's gonna really care. Pumpkin is just very versatile. And that's just the inside. You'll see on screen there's been a jack-o'-lantern the entire time. You can do stuff with the outside. You could use it for like a container for other foods to, you know, not have to wash up and have other people just eat straight out of a pumpkin. It looks like it would be fun. I've never done it, but it looks like it would be fun. And don't even get me started on jack-o'-lanterns. You scoop the insides out, then you've got the outside. You can carve a spooky little face in them. Halloween is objectively the best holiday, and pumpkins, being synonymous with Halloween, mean that it's just a good all-round vegetable. It's got a great shape as well. Like, jack-o'-lanterns probably wouldn't be as popular if they were differently sized or differently shaped. Yeah, you can see turnip jack-o'-lanterns, but how often do you see those? Not really often. You just see the pumpkins. The pumpkins have a great shape. They're round. They're slightly flat. They have the little, I don't know what they're called. Clothes seems about right. They're just overall very cool. And as if that wasn't enough to convince you that this should be in the number 5 position instead of the number 6, I've made a mistake, is that it has an amazing color. Orange is just an amazing color. We can tell this from carrots. We can tell this from acacia trees in Minecraft. Orange is just an objectively good color. The reason why it's not higher? Well, as I said earlier, controversial. Is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable? Who knows? Who cares? In the number 4 position, we have corn. Corn. Do I need to say anything else? Corn is just incredible. Is it a grain? Who cares? It's corn. Do I need to add anything else? I do? Okay. Add some butter. I'm not doing any more with corn. Corn is good. Number 3 position is garlic. Now, something to note about garlic is that it has a phenomenal taste. However, the main problem that comes with garlic and why it's not in the number 1 position, you can't really eat a raw clove of garlic. It's honestly a shame. Or even like a cooked clove of garlic, just eating a clove of garlic by itself. It's too intense. It tastes great, but it's just too intense and slightly too bitter. Garlic would have been in the number 1 spot if it wasn't for that it can't be cooked alone. However, no matter how you cook it, It's an instant improvement. Ever heard of garlic bread? Garlic bread's amazing. I would eat a garlic bread only for the rest of my life if I had the chance to. Garlic bread is my favorite food, and as such, garlic, if you just have bread with butter, that's not the same. It needs the garlic to make it garlic bread. That's what garlic bread is. Garlic bread is just incredible. And you can use it for anything else. You want to add a little bit of flavor to your potatoes? Chuck in some garlic, put it in the potatoes. You want to improve the flavor of your carrots? It might not work as well, but it would work well with parsnips. Another thing it can be cooked with, meat, any kind of meat. You put some garlic in, and it just makes it amazing. Garlic was very close to being in the number one spot. The only thing that took it, in fact, all of the top three were incredibly close. The only problem with garlic is that you can't eat it by itself, and that's a small problem in that you just can't eat garlic by itself. That should be obvious where the problem is. So, in the number two position, as nobody was going to question, it's the potato, the humble spud. It has amazing diversity. You want a boiled potato, mashed potato, you want roasted potato, you want something that's not quite as healthy? Anything. You could do anything with a potato. I haven't met a single person who doesn't like potato. As I said earlier, potato has a really good chance to be number one. However, it's just slightly taken over by the number one slot. So, like, you could eat potato for the rest of your life and have no problems whatsoever. The only problem that potato has is that, okay, story time. About 4 years ago, my family decided, hey, let's plant some potatoes because we have like miniature gardens. So we planted the potatoes, and then 5 months later, they came out, and all was good. Except a couple months later, we saw more potato plants in the same spot. We hadn't put anything else in there. Turns out that we'd missed some, and they continued to grow. So we went and took them all out again. And this continued for 3 years, and the potatoes still aren't out. We've gotten all the soil and shuffled it so many times, it just keeps appearing. Potatoes are everywhere. Now, for some people, that is definitely not a bad thing. Infinite potatoes. However, I don't have a diet consisting of exclusively potatoes. You know, you can't eat one thing for the rest of your life. I know how much I like garlic bread, but unfortunately, I know that I can't eat garlic bread for the rest of my life. While yes, you could eat potatoes every day for the rest of your life and nothing else, it would get a bit boring. It's the same problem with garlic bread. Yeah, I could eat it every day for the rest of my life, but no. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. I can't do that. Now, before we go into the number one spot for the best vegetable, it's time to talk about the honorable mentions. The vegetables that couldn't make it into the top 10. The honorable mentions. Honorable mention number one, parsnip. Parsnip's just overall good. It it's the younger, less cool carrot. It's like the sibling of carrot. But the chalky flavor does make it a bit worse. It's still very good. It's just not top 10 vegetable. Unfortunately, it was overtaken by lettuce. So rest in peace, parsnip. You nearly made it. The other top 10 mention that I should talk about is, oh, I missed a point. Okay, so another point, as I just brought up with potatoes and garlic bread, they're great in small quantities, but you couldn't eat it exclusively for the rest of your life. This seems like a problem with those two because they taste really good. The problem with parsnip doesn't come from lack of nutrition. It's that if you eat too many, start getting sick of them. Now, for the other honorable mention, we have the tomato. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that a fruit? Yes. If we were including fruits, which I know we have with stuff like the pumpkin, and we've added non-vegetables, grains like the corn. However, with pumpkin, if you say pumpkin's a vegetable, no one's going to disagree with you. If you say tomato is a vegetable, people are going to disagree with you. If you say pumpkin's a vegetable and someone tries to tell you, actually it's a fruit, just tell them to shut up, nerd. Because they're a nerd. No one knows that a pumpkin is a fruit. I only found out, like, while I was making this PowerPoint presentation. Anyway, Tomatoes are just generally great in pretty much every way. I think they take the #1 spot. I know this is probably a bit controversial. I know some people don't like tomatoes. However, I really like tomatoes. As a kid, my snack food of choice wasn't to go into the cupboard and grab like a thing of crisps. It wasn't to go and grab some biscuits. It was heading straight to the fridge, straight to the vegetable section, straight to the salad drawer, and grabbing a handful of cherry tomatoes. Now, the winner, what you've all been waiting for. Drum roll suspense. I hope I added the audio clip, or that's just a really awkward pause. We have in the #1 position the onion. Now, the onion is just incredible. The onion itself is great for cooking. You want some color in your gravy? Bam! Onion. You want some flavor with your potatoes? Bam! Onion. You want something to stuff your chicken with? Onion. Onion just enhances everything. It's similar to garlic in that it's used mostly as an enhancer instead of, as the meal itself most commonly. It's better. You can eat cooked onion as itself, and it tastes nice. With cooked garlic, if you overcook it by a little bit, it's overpowering. It burns easily. Onion doesn't do that. Onion's just generally great. You can roast it. They have a soft texture, and it's just really nice when roasted. You want to boil it into a soup or a stew or a casserole or something else? Wonderful. Add that onion in. Add that flavor. The reason why this is an improvement over garlic, for example, whereas they're both flavor enhancers for the most part, is that you can eat onion raw and it won't immediately hurt. You can eat onion raw and it's just generally good. Onion. Onion. The problem with garlic is that, yes, it has a much better flavor than onion and it's more intense, but the downside is that it's more intense. Onion will infuse into whatever you're cooking as the way garlic would. Garlic would do it quicker, but garlic can't be eaten on its own. Onion is just undeniably the best vegetable. There's no two ways about it. So, thank you for listening to this PowerPoint presentation. On to the next person.
Welcome to my epic presentation on what are clearly the top 10 vegetables. This is my own take on it, me being Dr. Shoe, of course, and while this list is completely subjective in my own opinion, it is also objective fact at the exact same time. So let's begin, as all good top 10 lists do, with 10th place. Corn. Now I feel like this might be a bit of a controversial placement for corn. It's a very popular veggie, but at the same time I feel as though it is a bit overrated. Obviously corn is pretty damn good. It looks pretty snazzy too as well. Also, it's not technically corn, but I feel as though baby corn should also just get a quick little mention here. It is so good and a bit of a carry for corn as well. It also has incredible versatility. You can make it into popcorn, you can have it raw, you can cook it, you can chop it up into little kernels, you can have it out of the can too, although I don't know why the heck you would ever want to do that. It probably would be higher, but yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Bringing us to 9th place, which is going to be cucumber. Now, cucumber, I feel as though, isn't something that's really brought up a lot. It is a very good vegetable. Don't talk about it. Okay, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I don't care that it has seeds or anything like that. I don't care. But so cucumber is actually really good in salads. You know, chopping it up like you see in the picture there, and you can just sort of slide it into salads and stuff. Works well with leaves and tomatoes and also feta for some reason. I really like cucumber and feta. And also cheese in general. Cucumber and cheese in general. I want cucumber and cheese. It also makes a really nice crunching sound. Something you'll see throughout the rest of the list is that I like that crunch. I think that crunchy things are always pretty good, and I'd say that the crunchier something is, the, generally speaking, better it is. Yeah, it's a cucumber. Pretty good. It's also green, which is like, it's a pretty good color. 8th place is going to be eggplant. Now, eggplant, obviously, it has some absolutely iconicness. It's a bright purple. I mean, they have an emoji for it, you know? You know your success. You know you're a successful veggie when you have an emoji for yourself. Obviously, right straight off the bat, they're pretty big and thick, and this makes it really good for when you're buying it. You only need to buy one rather than a bunch of multiple ones. You can just have the one big one, which is quite useful. It's also quite wet and nice and juicy, which is often nice when it can be quite nice when you're having a vegetable. You know, if it's the wetter and juicier it is, generally it can taste pretty nice with that too. It works well. It works really well inside other things. Personally, I really like chopping it up and chucking it into spaghetti stuff. Works weirdly well with spaghetti. You barely taste it, but then when you take it out, you actually notice, which is quite nice. Yeah, it also looks like it. So next up is capsicum, or you can call it pepper if you want to. I call it capsicum because I'm Australian. Now, capsicum, straight off the bat, is probably one of the best veggies out there for a salsa. I chuck it into nachos and burritos all the time, and I think that it's really good for that. It really carries the salsa for it. Again, it's also a really healthy snack too. You can chop it up into those long, thin slices, and you chuck it in like a little tiny little container, and you bring it into school with you, or work with you, or somewhere else with you. I don't really know what you're doing with your life, and I probably never will. Also, it's just a little thing, but if you hollow it out and you can stuff it full of other things, and it tastes really nice. There you go. And it crunches. It goes crunch, snap, and crunch, 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 crunch. Next up is broccolini. Now, straight off the bat, it's just a better version of broccoli. Broccoli is kind of mid. I don't think it even made it onto the honorable mentions on this list because it's just boring. You know, it's not even that great anyway. Broccolini, on the other hand, is really nice. I usually find broccoli kind of dense. You know, it's very short and stubby and thick, and it's not particularly nice to just, you have to stab it with a fork and then just stuff the whole thing in your mouth. It's really annoying. Broccolini is a lot lighter because it's, instead of being short and stubby and dense, it's long and thin. Also, it's fun to just sort of chomp the head off. You just eat all of the leaves and stuff off the end, and it's really funny, and I'm mature, shut up. Also, it's really nice when roasted. In particular, I felt like pointing that out. Obviously, it is nice raw as well, and I often just have it on the side of my meals. That being said, roasted broccolini is really nice, especially when it's super duper crispy, because then it goes crunch. Next up is tomato. Now, straight off the bat, I feel like tomato is controversial. I'm going to choose to ignore that, and I'm going to politely ask you to not give me that bullshit about how it's not a veggie, it's a fruit. But to be honest, I quite simply don't care, so please, shut the up about it. Now, obviously, a big pointer for the tomato is that it's nice and juicy. This can actually lead into a big thing about why it's kind of annoying. It's really hard to like cut up and slice because it just sort of squishes when you try and push the knife into it. It happens with other veggies too, and I'm not too mad about that. So I do hold its difficulty to cut it up against the tomato. It's not something that's really going to impact its overall placement too much. Also, tomato sauce or ketchup or whatever you want to call it is pretty nice. Also, I don't think I put it on the slideshow, but I've just thought of it now. Tomato soup. Underrated, and honestly, better than pumpkin soup. Next up is lettuce. Now, putting lettuce in fourth place may be a bit of a strong move here. It's something that a lot of people, I mean, it is first straight off the bat, it is one of the first veggies you'll think of when you think of a vegetable because it's, you know, a leaf. You see it in every salad ever. But it's genuinely extremely underrated. I mean, obviously, yes, it does work well in salads. I mean, big shocker. It also works well as a bowl for other foods. You know, if you tear up the lettuce and you just sort of place it in a bowl and then you dump all of the other stuff on top, it serves as quite a nice base for it. It adds a nice bit of, say it with me, folks, crunch to everything, which is quite good. That being said, I do genuinely love lettuce by itself. You know, just tearing off strips of iceberg lettuce and just sort of chowing down on them. And And that brings us to our honourable mentions. So before we move into the top 3, we're going to quickly mention some of the things that almost made it onto this list, but didn't quite. First off, we have green beans. Now, green beans are really good, but honestly, I feel like they're kind of carried by salted green beans, you know, when they're salted. That is a very strong point for them, and they taste really, really good when they're like lightly salted green beans. But honestly, there's only so far lightly salted green beans can carry you, and unfortunately, it didn't quite make it onto the list. Next up, we have garlic. Now, I believe that garlic is quite high on some of the other lists, and it does have many good things. It works with so many things. You cook it into a lot of things as well, and that is a huge point in its favor, and that it can go in so many different things. As an added bonus, it's good for dealing with vampires. That being said, I also don't like keeping garlic around the house in case some Edward-like vampire shows up. I don't really want to scare them away. You know, I want them to break into my room and watch me sleep, because it's romantic, right? Right? Next up, we have bamboo. Now, bamboo is something that I don't have very often, but when I do have it, I'm always reminded about how much I like it. And I made most of the list a few days ago, and then I had bamboo like really recently, and I was like, oh damn, I should have put it on the list. But by that point, I was too lazy to make an entire other slide for it, so I just chucked it here in honorable mentions. That being said, bamboo is quite good and underrated, and I really like it. It's also a grass, which I believe is something that you may see elsewhere. And finally, I'm going to end off our honorable mentions with seaweed. Dry seaweed in particular is quite nice. It's just, also obviously, sushi is a big part of seaweed, or seaweed is a big part of sushi, rather. And I love sushi because, you know, I'm a normal person. But also having just the dry seaweed, you have those little packets of dry seaweed, and you can chomp down on those as well. It doesn't quite have a nice crunch though. It's crispy, but it doesn't seem to crunch right, usually. Sometimes you'll get one little sheet of seaweed and it'll crunch perfectly, and it will be the best thing ever. But anyway, that brings us into our top 3 with onion. Now, onion, similar to garlic, goes with pretty much anything that you can cook. You know, straight off the bat, you just dice it up and chuck it in a pan, and that immediately works with so many things. You add it into meat mixtures, you add it into not meat mixtures. I kind of probably should have added a few more things to that list. Oh well. And then you can also just chuck it in a salad, which is another thing that you can do, and as an added bonus, you can eat it by itself.
Onion. This is a really bad bit.
Chomp chomp. Does go crunch, which is a good thing. As an added bonus, they're also kind of like ogres in that they have layers. And that brings us to number 2 with potatoes. Now, potato straight off the bat is just a fun word to say. If you haven't just said potato in a funny way before, then you're doing something wrong with your life. Everyone has done that before, and that is genuinely a big bonus for the potato's favor. Also, it is one of the more versatile veggies out there, as it works in so many different forms. So for that, you have baked potato, which also works really, really well with sour cream as well. Just chucking a bit of sour cream in there, sprinkle a couple chives in. It is absolutely heavenly. My personal favorite form is roast potato. Roast potato is so good, especially when you cook it just right, because then it's nice and crispy and slightly crunchy, but also not too crunchy. You know, you have that crunchy outer layer of skin, but then a soft inside, and but it's so good. It's so good. Chuck a little bit of salt on there. It's just so unbelievably good. I love it so much. I want it now. I want it. And then you can also just have it normally, you know. That is probably the third form of potato creation. And that now brings us to number 1. You know, are you really surprised? Do you even have to ask why? Come on, it's carrot, obviously. Where else would it be? But that is my list. Thank you for coming to this TED Talk where I go through the top 10 vegetables, and this is, and I'd like to remind you, objective fact. This is the top 10. These are the top 10 best veggies, and nothing else. No other list of top 10 veggies is correct. It is, objectively speaking, this one. And shut the f*** up about tomato.
Alrighty, it's my turn. Top 10 vegetables as of TakedownChain23's opinion. Let's get started with number 10. We've got corn, right? It's a staple food item. You know, it's pretty essential to like civilization. You know, it's basic, but it's solid. You make a lot of things with it. You know, convenient, cutlery-free consumption. You can just eat it right on the cob. Makes a lot of snacks such as popcorn and corn chips as well. And you know, cornstarch and corn flour and all that stuff's pretty useful as well. So it's a solid food item. Coming in on number 9, we have garlic. Now it's great on garlic bread. Obviously, it's a classic. What would we do with that garlic bread? What would we have with our pizza? It's good flavoring on other things. Yeah, just other random things. Just tastes good. You know, it really elevates the flavor palette of any dish, and good for vampire encounters. You know, like if you got Dracula coming up, the garlic's gonna deal with him nice and swiftly. So for number 8, we've got the eggplant. Right now, it's I've never actually eaten an eggplant. You know, probably doesn't taste that nice, but you know, obviously it's iconic, right? You know, everyone knows what it is, knows what it means. You know, it's truly is iconic. You know, great for text message conversations, and you know, yeah, maybe it tastes good. I don't know. I've never eaten it. That's not my thing. It doesn't really looks gross and squishy, but whatever. So number 7, the leaf. Now, obviously, a lot of different kinds of leaves, but you know, I figure same thing. Like it's all the same. So you know, anyway, they're healthy, or they at least feel healthy. You know, you eat a leaf, you're like, yeah, I'm doing it right. You know, very versatile. You can put them in anything. You know, burger, salad. Obviously, you can put them in anything, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing it right. And obviously, many varieties of leaf. You know, if you're a leaf expert, leaf fan, you can sort of pick your favorite leaf, all that sort of stuff. A lot of them out there. Anyway, number 6, we got seaweed, right? I think it's personally underrated. I think we get a lot of good stuff out of it. It's essential for sushi, right? Sushi, like, that's good stuff, except the avocado. Avocado is disgusting. You should never be put on sushi. But apart from that, great stuff. And I'm quite a fan of the, you know, dried, salted, you know, little crispy bits of seaweed. Good stuff. So, number 5, spring onion, you know? Not like that good as a vegetable, but like as a garnish, like, oh, perfect. You know, if it's got the little spring onions on it, you're like, oh, this is good. This is the really good stuff. You know, this is right. You know, and you know, it's very fancy. You know, pizzazz. That's the word I was looking for. It just adds that extra bit of pizzazz onto your dish. All right, and number 4 is the carrot. Now, it's a classic vegetable. You know, like, you know, everyone loves carrots. Good, but I think it would be lower, but damn it, I forgot to add the carrot. Maybe leave this part out, Oligy. So put this here. So number 4, we've got carrot. You know, obviously, you know, classic vegetable. It's done a lot of things. You know, it can be pretty good. I think it would be lower on this list, but you know, obviously, you know, like I don't really have to say anything more to it. But what really deserves bronze place, you know, 3rd on this list is the golden carrot. Very similar to the carrot, but it's just got a few extra qualities. You know, 6 whole hunger points. That's more than regular carrot, and 14.4 saturation points. One of the best. What else we got? Can also be obtained through trading. You can get loads of it if you got good setup. And obviously, night vision is pretty cool as well. You know, it's a pretty neat thing to have. Anyway, 2nd place on this list is sweet potato. Now, you notice potato didn't actually make it onto this list. That's because I think potato is pretty basic, but sweet potato, that stuff's good. That really is just top tier potato. So obviously it's better than regular potato. Just said that. It's sweet. You know, I love my sweet stuff. It's just better. It just tastes better with that extra bit of sugar in it. And sweet potato chips are like the best thing you've ever eaten. If you've never had sweet potato chips, you gotta eat them. They're so good. Best chips I've ever eaten. Sweet potato chips, 100%. And on 1st place we've got grass. Now you might be a little bit upset at this last thing, but you know, vegetable, my opinion, it's just a plant that you eat that people aren't going to get upset about you calling it a fruit. But it's definitely not a fruit, and you can eat it. You know, you can eat bamboo, and cows eat grass. You could eat grass if you wanted. So it's a vegetable. So don't care, it's a vegetable. So, you know, one of the points is most meat is made out of grass. You know, cows eat the grass. They take in that matter. Meat is just grass, and I like meat, which is really better than any of the vegetables on this list. So really, without grass, we couldn't have meat. So we really owe a lot to grass. You know, obviously as well, sugar comes from sugar cane, which is a grass. Now, sugar's like, you know, it's up there with meat above all these vegetables on this list. We need it. It's delicious. You know, top tier grass. And then also bamboo. You know, it has many uses. You can make socks. You can make bowls, scaffolding. You can eat it if you want. You know, panda populations. It can do so much stuff. Grass. This type of grass is so good. And also, you know, pretty good aesthetic value for lawns. You know, a lot of people like to have it around. Maybe sport, if that's your thing. You know, yeah, not really, but yeah. So grass comes in number 1 on my list of vegetables. So thank you very much for watching. I have only know what the last third of this video looks like, but I'm sure the rest of it was top tier as well. Although my opinions were probably better, let's be honest. But yeah, we will see you next time.